Welcome to our exclusive interview of the show. Now, I've got to be ultra cautious to keep my private information private, like my home address, which is why I was shocked when Home Title Lock showed me the actual deed to my home with a stranger's name listed as the new owner. Now, my home wasn't in my name anymore. Thankfully, this was only a demonstration, but it proved how easily in minutes a cyber criminal can forge and then take out a title of your home, and they take out loans on your home, steal your equity, and they could even sell it, and you wouldn't know it until it is too late. Now, our special guest today, Art Pfizenmayer, he is a retired FBI agent with over 25 years of bureau service. He's been assigned to FBI field offices from coast to coast as an investigator and supervisory special agent targeting major traditional organized crime and labor racketeering enterprises. He's currently serving as a senior advisor to the management of Title Lock Corporation, a service company whose proprietary software monitors and reports to its subscribers any title activity on their property. We got some amazing disclosures on some of the investigations he's done into Elvis Presley's Graceland. You've seen it in the headlines today. So we're going to get into that, and we're going to teach you some very important lessons. Art, welcome to the Next News Network.
It's great to be here. Looking forward to talking to you today. So I'm ready to go.
So am I. And personally, I've seen all these commercials. I've heard them, and they're rather terrifying when you hear about people stealing your deed. So can you just get us started by helping our listeners understand what deed fraud actually is and how the crime is committed?
Well, it's a deed or a title. It's both names. They're interchangeable names here, but it is the document when you buy a property that you sign showing that you are the owner of record for that property. And as the owner of record, you're able to encumber that property with loans like a mortgage or a home equity loan. And the basic uh, document that allows you to do that is calls your title, your deed. And that says you own the property at that address. The problem is the deed in almost every jurisdiction that I've encountered in the United States, county recorder's office, there are like 3,134 county recorders in the United States. If you present a document like a deed that's fully filled out, all the blanks are filled in with something, then they are required to take that document and file it if you give them the correct fee. So someone can go in, especially now we're in the digital age, we're all living in it. So they can go online and look up your house at your address and pull up a copy of that current deed, and then go online and download the quitclaim deed for the state of Illinois, city of Chicago, and fill it out and forge your name. Fill it out, go into the county recorder's office there in Chicago and file it and pay the fee. And then at that point, the property is no longer in your name. On paper, you have sold it, and the property is now in the crook's name. And the crook will begin immediately trying to find ways to monetize that using the equity in your house as the collateral for loans, mortgages, home equity loans, anything they can figure out that will generate a buck for them. And then they take off. They don't want your house. They don't even have to go near it, quite frankly. So they can take the money and they'll be gone. And if you don't find out about it right away, then you're going to have a nightmare on your hands, legal, financial, and emotional nightmare that could last literally for years until you get a court to agree that it's your house and that wasn't your loan, and the court will order that it be put back in your name. But in the meantime, you spend 2 years trying to figure out how to get it back in your name with an attorney, going to court. It's very expensive, as you can probably figure. The one way to stop this is to find out about the change in your deed immediately before that first loan is transacted. Once that loan is gone, negotiated, then you're in trouble. But if you can find out about it as soon as the change is made on your property's title, then you can stop it. And that's exactly what we do at Home Title Lock. We have our proprietary software, and we monitor the property of our subscribers in a national database. We don't have to go to your county recorder's office. It's all in a national database.
Wow.
And we monitor that database. Our proprietary uh, software does a great job. And if something happens, you're notified by our proprietary software. You don't have to wait for somebody to go make a phone call to you or send you an email. It will tell you that there's been a change in your title and to contact us immediately. And when you contact us, we'll pull up the documents and show them to you. And if they are something you're familiar with, they just forgot about, then there's no harm, no foul. But if you don't recognize them, you got to act right away. And that's what we do. We work with you to make sure that the crooks cannot negotiate that first loan. And that's what it's all about. I mean, when I first was approached by this company in 2017, I took one, and the FBI DNA kicked in right away when they came to me, and I looked at it and I thought, I am really vulnerable. I live in California, and the housing prices out here are obscene, quite frankly. And I looked at my equity and I thought that could evaporate overnight. And I signed up almost before I talked to the owner of the company. I looked at the company. The owner is a sterling guy, and he's had a lot of good businesses. He's very familiar with the title business. And I said, this is something I want to get involved in. I want to make sure everybody who owns property knows that their main asset, I mean, in America, probably 75 or 85% of all people have that kind of percentage of their net worth tied up in their home. You don't have three or $400,000 in a bank account, but you may have three or 400,000 or a million tied up in your house, and that's at risk unless you watch it. And what you need to do is go to the best possible way to watch it to make sure you're contacted immediately. And our software does that. And then we will work with you. We have a restoration group, and they
Wow.
will work with you to get the title back in your name. And believe me, if you don't pay attention and this gets by you, you don't realize it. You didn't get excuse me, I have a cold. You didn't get a water bill or a tax bill. Someone's going to knock on your door. It's going to be the lender. And now the lender doesn't want your house either. The lender is going to want to sell your house to get the money that they have loaned on your house. And so you're going to look at the lender and say, look, this is not mine. Well, the lender doesn't care. The house was the collateral, not you or your real ownership in the house. That's what they're after. And they're going to take you to court and get a judge, try to get the judge to authorize them to sell your house so they can take their money.
So
And you just don't want to get there.
how widespread is this? I mean, I think about, oh, this can't happen to me. This can't happen to me. I don't need to
Yeah.
worry about this. But just how widespread is this type of fraud?
Well, let me give you a little analogy if you've got a minute.
Sure.
Um, if you have coverage on your house for a fire, and you have a fire at your house, and then the fire department comes and police come and they all make a record. And so we know that there was a fire. Now, last year there were probably 535 or 45,000 residential fires, and there's a clear record of that. So we know what the number is, and that's like 0.02%. But that's a lot of fires, and one of them is yours. That's real serious. Now, if your next door neighbor came to you and said, "You know what happened last night? I found out that somebody stole all my equity in my house. It's $400,000 or $500,000. And now they're going to try and sell my house out from under me." So, going back to your coverage, wouldn't it have been nice if the night before that fire was going to start, if your insurance, your coverage called you and sent you an email and said, that towel on the countertop next to your stove is going to catch on fire, start a grease fire, and burn your house down? I mean, it'd be nice to get that email the night before.
Yeah.
If you had home title lock, you'd have gotten it. We would have told you, hey, someone has tinkered with your title, and we're going to show you exactly what it is to make sure you're safe. And the big difference in those two stories is, one, the police don't show up for the guy who lost his money on a fraud. They look at it, and you go to the police department, and rightfully so, they'll say, look, this looks like a dispute between you and your lender. You better get an attorney. So there's no record of actually that crime unless down the road someone looks at it from the standpoint of bank fraud, wire fraud, or mail fraud.
It almost
But
sounds
the
like
number of
it
go
almost
ahead.
sounds like the recent scourge of squatting that has happened across the country, where they go on vacation, they come home, and there's criminals literally living in their home, and the criminal says, "Well, hey, I've actually got a lease here." And they call the homeowner calls the police. The police show up and say, "Well, this is a civil matter. You guys got to deal with it in court," and the police walk away. But this is like a digital form of that.
Yeah, it is. The problem, I mean, home title lock wouldn't even be able to help you if you were a subscriber at that point. But if you're, let's say it's a rental house that you have, which would make you pretty vulnerable as well. You got to pay attention to things like your water bill, your electricity bill, and that's how you would probably, detect someone going out of bounds on a property that you owned and were intending to use in some capacity down the road. So it's one of those things where a squatter, first of all, you know who the squatter is, you know where they are, you know where your house is. And so you have resources that you can, fall back on. But the local laws throughout the United States protecting renters from years of abuse by the landlords have put laws in place that when somebody gets in your house and has the key to the front door, you do have a problem. And that they know this, the squatters know this, and so they'll use it to their advantage. I saw one the other day where the police came after the squatter had been discovered, and the squatter showed the policeman a receipt from Uber Eats that had his name and that address on it, and the police had to walk away from it because that guy had a document showing he had residence there. I mean, it's that crazy. But
Wow.
if it's somebody touches your title, then home title lock will be right there to help you immediately. And
So
that's
so
the,
when does the homeowner realize that they have become a victim? Like, what's the trigger mechanism there?
for title fraud.
Well, yeah, when the homeowner finally realizes, oh, someone's taken my title.
Yeah, with home title lock, they find out immediately if they're a subscriber because our software notifies them. We don't have to wait for the paperwork to go through and somebody is send an email and make a phone call. These our software will email the subscriber immediately and tell them to contact us right away so that we can make sure that there isn't some kind of mistake. And I have to say, once in a while, in a recorder's office, a number will get transposed. And I think they're in Chicago. They call it parcel identification number PIN, and that can be our staff will handle that almost instantly, quite frankly, and talk to the various authorities to make sure that the administrative stuff gets straightened out. But if it's an honest to God cyber criminal trying to steal your equity, then you have to get on top of it immediately. I mean, if you wait a week or two, then you're going to be in trouble. And that's trouble, believe me, you don't want. It's a financial, emotional, and legal nightmare that'll haunt you for years.
So I want to get into the Graceland investigation that you did
Yeah,
in a moment, but I want to ask about, talking about the need to act quickly. And, with contract law, there's always, certain times, you have a certain, 72 hours before the contract becomes active or,
yeah, right of
but
rescission.
yeah, right, a rescission. But in the case of a title filing at a county recorder's office, Do those same types of timelines apply? Because once that notification comes to the homeowner from home title lock, all of a sudden you're like, oh, what's this? I've got 72 hours to take action. Can you walk me through that?
Well, first of all, if there's a right of rescission involved, nobody can do it. Even the bad guys can't get any money out of it, so it's not an issue. But because you are a subscriber to Home Title Lock, we will contact you immediately, and no matter what the conditions are on the title, if there are. And like I said, there are over 3,000 county recorder's offices, and many of them have their own little widgets that they use just because they can. And so if you have home title lock, no matter what happens, we'll be on it already before. And even if it's a right of rescission issue, and I haven't run into that yet. It's more once you sign the papers, you have 72 hours to decide whether to do it or not. In this instance, as far as the observer looking down on it would say that title has been filed, so that transaction is complete, and the ownership is now, Mr. Brown, whoever it might be. So if you've got home title lock, we'll be stepping in before anybody can negotiate that first loan. So that I don't think the right of rescission is an issue that would even affect you because no matter what the loan is, it's probably going to take more than 48 hours or 72 hours. But beyond that, you start walking on some pretty thin ice. And with home title lock, you won't have to. We will have you in the game immediately, even before the first loan. So right of rescission might be a little bit of a protection for you. But if you don't know about it and your house has been, you've been living in it for 15 years, there's no right of rescission going on there as far as I'm concerned. They'll file a document and then start immediately looking for loans. It's not
Wow.
hard. They'll find somebody to do a drive-by estimate of the value. um, they can do it by just going to Zillow, and they can tell you whether you got a pool and whether you have certain roofing and all those kinds of things. So it can get so bizarre so fast if you don't have somebody watching your back, and that's what we do at Home Title Lock. We
Well,
watch your
talking
back.
about what's bizarre is when I saw the headlines come across the wires regarding Graceland, and like, oh my goodness, what's going on here? And then you drill a little deeper, and now they are screaming fraud. So you've looked into this, and there's some identifiers that you want to bring to light that maybe most people haven't realized. Can you shed some light on what's going on with Graceland?
Well, I did look at it. And I haven't talked to anybody involved in it because I don't want to slow them down in doing what they're doing. But it looked to me like it was a personal note for the $3 million, whatever it was sold for, and therefore there probably wasn't a title change made, so that even if they had been a subscriber, we wouldn't have been able to pick it up. They're just a personal note between the person who they allege were the owner, and there's where the forgery took place. Apparently, that the person who signed it was not the Presley relative who actually was on the title. So until it didn't hit the title, as far as I can tell now, it may have changed. They may have found errors or something like that. But so somebody presented as the owner of record and persuaded somebody to loan them $3.8 million on her signature, with some caveat. And like I said, I have no right to see the papers, quite frankly. That the Graceland would be the collateral if the loan went south. So I don't see. It's not so much as a title matter, but that's a fraud, just a plain out ordinary household word of fraud. And those are the types of things the police will get involved in. I mean, it's a high profile property.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot of money. And so, back when I was with the Bureau, the standard minimum that we would have as a loss before we even look at it was probably $2 million. It's probably 25 million now. So that certain agencies won't even touch things unless it meets that benchmark as uh, enough to justify the investigation. So that's a little scary too, which is all the more reason to have home title lock, because we don't worry whether you got $200 in equity or 200,000 or 2 million. We're going to step up and help you out right out the gate, right out of the gate.
Now, another situation is a man by the name of Matthew Cox. Now,
Yes.
he prolific house stealing criminal, served 13 years in prison, stealing
Yeah.
70 properties in Tampa, in the Tampa area. And one of his quotes was, "Honestly, the only thing that could have stopped me was home title lock." So, how can you explain that?
Sure. First of all, congratulations to Matthew. He has, you know, gotten out on parole and he's walking a straight and narrow. I mean, he has obviously um, spoken on our behalf to help people understand how widespread the crime is of home title fraud. Excuse me. The uh, the thing with Matthew was he was on the inside. He knew how to do it, and he was willing to. I apologize. He was he knew how to do it, and he had enough skill in his background. He had an arts degree of some kind. So, when I first saw Matthew's record, I mean, he got a 26-year prison sentence on a white collar crime. That was unbelievable to me that he got that much time. So he really offended a lot of people. And then when they were trying to catch him, he taunted them a little bit. So that's probably not a good thing to do if they're going to eventually get a hold of you like they did. But he's turned his life around. I think he's made a point of making sure people understand their vulnerability in owning a piece of property and not paying attention to the ownership of record. And he was able to, just make millions and millions of dollars by selling other people's property. Sometimes he would get multiple loans on the same property, making people believe that they were the only lender involved.
My
He was good,
goodness.
and he's very presentable, a likable guy. Quite frankly, when you meet him, and he tells a story that everybody should pay attention to because he made it happen to dozens and dozens of people, and I'm sure a lot of them still to this day would like to meet him in an alley. But he's, excuse me, he's a really nice guy, and
Well, it
I think
reminds me of that
he's
film "Catch Me If You Can," where the
yes, yeah,
character is creating these fake checks and he's jet setting around the country, and
yeah.
the FBI is chasing him, um, and they can't get him. Finally, they do. He gets a job with the FBI and he starts helping catch these forgers. So it's good to see that dear Matthew has served his time, and now he's working with you guys, at least warning people in this capacity. So that's a happy ending there, I
I mean,
guess.
that was part of the terms of his parole that he uh, work on making people aware of the problem, how easy it was to execute it, and then he's got a restitution issue that he's obviously working on resolving, and he's
70 properties.
yeah,
That's
and I don't think they were all in Florida. I think he did some in California and a couple of other places, and that's when he started taunting. I think it was the Secret Service that he was taunting, and that's when you get the book thrown at you.
yeah.
When you try to tell the guys who are trying to, protect people that they aren't doing a very good job, they get touchy. I would.
Now let's bottom line it for the listeners and viewers who are watching right now. What is your call to action specifically for them to protect themselves before we go?
Right now, sit down at your computer and go to hometitlelock.com and look at the options that are available. There are are videos of people who are endorsers of it that you can look at. You can also look at the various programs. And you need to understand we have our protection program. It's, we monitor your property, we alert you if there's anything that goes wrong, and we help you restore the property. And that's pennies a day, quite frankly. It's the best money you'll ever spend. If you just miss one of your drive-through designer coffees a week, you'd be paying for home title lock coverage 24/7. And that's what you should do. Don't leave yourself and your most important asset unguarded.
So, first things first, verify the deed to your home. It hasn't already been forged. Make sure it's still in your name. And then make sure you I guess you can do that for free. There's no obligation when you visit HomeTitleLock.com.
If you sign up right now, because of you, if your viewers sign up right now, they'll get 30 days of free protection, and they'll get a copy of the history of their deed. And so you'll be able to look at it and say, who's the current deed holder, and it'll be you, or whatever entity the house is being held in.
Now,
you'll know when you sign up.
I just want to point out that there's a link in the description where people can take action, and make sure you also use the promo code NEXT so that you can get your 30 free days of home title lock protection. So remember, verify the deed to your home. That it's safely in your name, and you can do that for free at the link in the description using promo code NEXTNEWS, hometitlelock.com.
You just go onto the line and sign up, and it'll ask you for your coupon code, and you put the word NEXT in there, and you'll get a copy of your history of your deed, not just a copy of your deed, but a history of deed, and you'll also get 30 days of free protection. And it's just a no-brainer to you got to protect your house. You don't want. I had a lady that I was looking at. She's in South Florida, this a few years ago. She got the house from her parents, and she missed a few stop signs, quite frankly. And she woke up one morning, the sheriff was there, and they threw her out of her house, put all her stuff in black plastic bags, and put them all out of the curb. She lived across the street in the park for 7 months until some legal aid society realized what her problem was. They helped her get back into the house. But it can be that serious. And when the police show up to remove you from your property, they show up with ballistic vests on and helmets and everything. It's just so emotional when you take people who don't realize that they've lost their property and put their possessions out on the curb. So don't fall into that trap. Get somebody to watch it for you, and get Home Title Lock today.
Art, I want to thank you for joining us for this enlightening discussion, specifically because you're helping our viewers understand this complex issue. So I really hope that they will take advantage and visit hometitlelock.com. We don't want them to be the next victim, so remember that's the promo code NEXT. We don't want you to be the next victim of home title fraud, so you need to go to hometitlelock.com. Art, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure was mine. I hope everybody is a little wiser for having listened to you today.
All right, Art, thank you for sharing your expertise and shedding light on the alarming issue of deed fraud. It's crucial for homeowners to take proactive measures to protect their most valuable asset. Home Title Lock offers a powerful solution with their proprietary monitoring software. Remember, you can verify your deed for free and get 30 days of protection by using promo code NEXT at hometitlelock.com. Do not wait until it's too late, until all your stuff's in a plastic bag on the side of the curb, or that you find out that someone has taken your property and you've got people knocking on your doors with ballistic vests ready to kick you out. So don't wait until it's too late. Safeguard your home today. Take action at the link in the description.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. Now keep up your quest for truth with this next news report. And if you found our channel enlightening, join the millions who agree with you. Tap subscribe. Thank you for watching the Next News Network.